All right, before we get anything, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all that good stuff. Also, we have the Discord link in the description below, so click that to join. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the college football season as of right now. So it's been pretty crazy for the most part. We've seen the fall of Alabama. Georgia doesn't look as strong as they were over the past couple years. But we're just going to go through the top 25. That's really the main focus here. So Texas sits at 6-0 after they had a dominating win over Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of had a rough welcome to the SEC. They got a win against Auburn where Peyton Thorne essentially threw him the game, literally doing a bunch of stupid shit. Oklahoma had a loss to Tennessee in their first SEC matchup at home. But Texas, even if it's Arch Manning or Quinn Ewers, they've been doing their thing, holding it down. I do expect them to lose at some point, whether it be maybe Georgia or that Texas A&M game, but they gonna lose to somebody. I don't expect everyone to just finish undefeated this year, especially with the 12-team playoff, because you got to make it exciting, you got to make it dramatic, you got to raise the stakes. So you can afford a loss. 2 losses, you need some help. Number 2, Oregon. I'm actually surprised that Oregon beat Ohio State, but then again, I really shouldn't, because Ohio State plays a bunch of Ohio high schools essentially on their schedule, and then Penn State, Michigan. Yeah, Oregon, they've struggled against some bad teams. They won, but they struggled against Idaho and Boise State. I guess Boise isn't really a bad team. But I do not expect Oregon to stay undefeated. They are definitely going to lose to somebody that they shouldn't. This is the Oregon way. Even if things look like they're going good, they're going to lose to somebody and fuck it off. We saw it where they lost twice to Washington last year. We've seen it when they went to the national championship with Marcus Mariota. The bottom going to fall out at some point. Penn State, they got away with a close one against USC. In overtime, was it 33-30? Ohio State, I just mentioned, they lost to Oregon in prime time. Still kind of confused as to why that was an NBC game and not a Fox game. I don't know if NBC has rights to Big Ten games too. I want to say they do. I was really curious about that. Georgia, number 5, they sit at 5-1. They struggled to beat Mississippi State. They lost to Alabama, of course. You know, Alabama got the big lead, and Alabama didn't switch up their game plan, allowing Georgia to take the lead for all of 13 seconds. And now they have a matchup with Texas. So they might potentially be sitting at 5-2. Following that, they have Florida at Ole Miss versus Tennessee, UMass, and Georgia Tech. Next, we got Miami at 6-0. Now, Miami been getting away by the skin of their teeth. Miami had a very close game against Virginia Tech that the referees essentially saved their ass. And the Cal game where they were trailing 30-something to 10. They really should have lost that game, but again, referees have saved their ass. They clearly have plans for them to make it to the playoffs. I mean, Cam Ward, must-see TV. And the ACC is going to go down to Miami and Clemson. I don't see anybody else in that weak-ass conference. Alabama, they got Tennessee this week. And they lost to Vanderbilt. And they almost lost to South Carolina. This Bama team looks vulnerable. And they're going to look vulnerable even more this year. I expect them to beat Tennessee, but they're going to look vulnerable against some more teams on their schedule. LSU, they're 5-1. They got their loss out the way early against USC to open up the season in Vegas. They had a late one against Ole Miss, ended up winning. You know, Death Valley at night, kind of hard to win there. Iowa State sits at 6-0. I haven't watched any Iowa State football to really know what's going on with them, because I feel like the Big 12 is kind of a toss-up as far as who's the big dog now, because the big dogs left in Oklahoma and Texas, so it's kind of like who is the new big dog in the Big 12. Clemson, they sit at 5-1. Again, they lost to Georgia to open the season. Tennessee, 5-1. Could have easily been 4-2. That Florida win was ugly. They had to win in overtime. It took Billy Napier making a lot of bad coaching decisions. Josh Heupel himself has been making some bad coaching decisions and play calling, whether it be the Arkansas game, which he said late he made some mistakes. And in this Florida game, a lot of the same things. He's got Nico staring down receivers, being a little bit more careless with the ball. You know, he's a redshirt freshman. This ain't the same Tennessee team we saw the first 2-3 weeks where they're scoring 60, 70 points. This Tennessee team is having 0 points going into like halftime or the third quarter sometimes. That is not boding well if they're going to go against the likes of, say, Alabama, even if it is a struggling Alabama team, a Kentucky who beat Ole Miss early in the year, and against Georgia or Vanderbilt for that matter. So Tennessee, I do believe Tennessee going to lose another game or 2 or maybe 3. Notre Dame, they sit at 5-1, being the upset. You know, Northern Illinois, Vegas cleaned up that day. BYU sitting at 6-0. They might be the new big dog in the Big 12. Who knows? kind of forget they are. Texas A&M, they won loss was Notre Dame. They've been looking good in SEC play. But I always expect the bottom to fall for Texas A&M at some point, because no matter who the coach has been, whether it be Kevin Sumlin, Jimbo Fisher, when things seem like they're going good for A&M, the bottom falls out at some point, and they end up, 6-6, 7-5. But the wins they've had, though, they've had a big win over Mizzou, close win against Arkansas, because Arkansas ain't no slouch. They end up beating Tennessee at home. Convincing win against Florida, big win against McNeese State, and of course, the open season loss to Notre Dame, like I mentioned. You got a 5-1 Boise State team at 15th with Ashton Janti. I don't know if I pronounced his last name right, but he run like beast mode. He is Jay Ajayi 2.0. People saying he should win the Heisman, but he ain't gonna win it because he's in the Mountain West. A lot of people don't watch Mountain West games like that. The most they gonna get coverage of is his touchdown runs, like YouTube shorts, TikToks. It's just his touchdowns alone. They don't give a fuck about nothing else in the Mountain West. Indiana sits at 6-0. Kansas State 5-1. They just had a win against Colorado. Ole Miss sitting at 5-2. They done flopped already. They had their loss against Kentucky, and they lost against LSU, which was in overtime. Mizzou sitting at 5-1. Mizzou had that close overtime win over Vanderbilt a few weeks ago. Then they got throttled by Texas A&M. Big win at UMass. And now they got Auburn, and then they're at Alabama. Yeah, they got some more losses on their schedule. I know I just shat on the ACC, but you do have Pitt. They had a close win against Cal. Same Cal team that gave Miami a tough time. And right now they're sitting at 6-0. They got a few teams on their schedule where they might not, remain undefeated. SMU at 21, 5-1. Illinois at 5-1. Brett Bielema has them looking good right now, with their only loss being the 21-7 loss to Penn State. They had that close win over Purdue, 50-49, one of the overtime games, and now they have Michigan coming up. Then you have at 23, Army at 6-0. 24, Michigan, who's a shell of themselves at 4-2. And they got Illinois coming up this Saturday, 3:30 p.m., followed by Michigan State. Then they got Oregon, Indiana, Northwestern, and of course, Ohio State. They got some more losses on their schedule, just know that. And at 25, you got the Navy Midshipmen. So we could potentially have an Army-Navy game where both teams are ranked, potentially both teams undefeated. I doubt it. I see on Navy schedule, they still got Notre Dame at noon in a couple weeks. But hey, that game might be a little bit more hype than years past. It might not just be, it's just Army-Navy, even though a lot of people do tune into that game. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up the top 25. Like I said, SEC is pretty simple. Texas, Georgia, Bama, maybe LSU could sneak in there. ACC, Miami, Clemson, or Pitt. Big 12, BYU. I don't really know enough about Iowa State. I'm not even going to hold you. Boise State, in the Mountain West. Oh, K-State in the Big 12. I forgot about K-State. Yeah, that's basically my thoughts so far throughout the college football season. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Hit that Discord link. We'll be going live at some point this week, dropping some new content. Stay looking out for that. And again, y'all be easy, man. We out.